Hi, my name's Leo and I'm a boat builder and a sailor, and this is Tally-Ho, the boat that I bought for $1 about 8 years ago and then rebuilt from the keel up with the help of a lot of amazing people. Now my partner Marit and I are travelling back to the UK to race the boat in the Fastnet 2027, 100 years after this boat won it in 1927. Right now we're on the west coast of Mexico, and this video is a little bit different from the previous few, which have been a lot of nice anchorages and pretty scenery. But this video shows what's really going on. We're actually facing a lot of challenges, a lot of things going wrong with the boat, a lot of difficult decisions to make, and quite a rush to meet various weather windows and so on. So this video is going to really lay it out how it really is. I have to warn you, there is a lot of talking in this video, but hopefully it's interesting. I'm also going to show a few jobs, slushing the rig, scraping the bottom, and so on. And the video starts in Acapulco, which you may have heard is dangerous. It has a bad reputation, but actually when we were there, we found it to be a really lovely place, really wonderful people, and we felt very, very safe. Okay, so we had a good and fairly uneventful passage from Acapulco, and we're now in the Huatulco area. We're actually in a little marine national park here, and this bay fills up with pangas and local boats every day, but by this time, 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they all leave and we're here on our own now. So I'm going to talk a bit about our journey in general, where we're going, how we're getting there, but first, I've noticed that we've been getting a lot more marine growth on Tally-Ho's bottom recently. And I'm not sure if it's because our antifoule's wearing out, or maybe because the last time it was scrubbed in Ensenada, I had someone else do it and maybe they didn't do a very good job, but either way, I need to get down there and give it a good scrub. So we're in the Huatulco area now, and our next leg is to go from here across to the border of Mexico and then continue down to Costa Rica. And we've got to get there to Costa Rica by around Christmas time because our old friend Patrick is flying down to meet us there. And so we've got a hard date where we have to meet him. But it's going to be a rush because we're actually stuck here for a few days because there's a regional wind between here and there. It's actually just to the east of us, called the Tehuantepec. So you can see here on this chart where we are right now on this southern coast of Mexico. And if I turn the weather forecast on, you can see here this very strong blast of wind that's coming through this kind of narrow part of Mexico, and it's actually a much flatter part of Mexico there where there's a kind of valley, so it just comes through from the Atlantic and gets accelerated in this zone by the mountains on either side, blasts out into the Pacific as this sort of tongue of very strong wind called the Tehuantepec. And you can see it can actually go on for quite a long time. We've already been waiting here for a little while, so actually we're getting a bit closer to the window, and on Wednesday in a couple of days there's going to be a period where it actually just calms down for a little bit. So that's when we're planning to go across this area. You can also see on this chart the rest of our kind of planned route. You can see we're going to be going down the coast of Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica. Because we're in such a rush now, we're not going to be probably stopping very much in any of these countries, unfortunately. We might stop once or twice for diesel. Actually, in this whole area, apart from the Tehuantepec, there's really not very much wind at this time of year. So it's unlikely we'll be able to sail that much, so we probably will have to stop for diesel a few times. Once we get to Costa Rica, we're hoping to pick up Patrick in the northwest of the country, and then there should be some really interesting, beautiful scenery there, so we are hoping to spend a little bit of time in Costa Rica. After that, we're going to be trying to get to Panama and the Panama Canal, and it's going to continue to be a bit of a rush, and the reason it's a rush is we need to get out of the tropics before the next hurricane season, which comes in sort of late spring. So that gives us a few months, but there are a lot of miles to cover, and after we get out of the Panama Canal on the other side, we've got to decide which way to go. Now, just getting through the Panama Canal could take some time because you can't book a transit day there until you actually arrive in Panama City, and sometimes you have to wait for several weeks before you actually have a date to go through. So that's the rush to get there. Once we're on the other side, we've got to decide which way to go. I would really like to take Tally-Ho to Antigua because I spent some time there on a previous boat. I have some friends and connections there, but it would mean going from Panama upwind in the trade winds, which are really strong at that time of year. This boat does sail really well, but it is a traditional gaff cutter rig, and therefore it's never going to point as high upwind as a really modern boat, a Bermudan rig, for instance. So tacking upwind in trade winds and big seas, strong winds for potentially weeks and weeks at a time would take a really long time, and it would be really hard on the boat. So going to Antigua might not be possible. And you can see here in the Caribbean there would be really strong trade winds coming from the east here, and so to get from here, from Panama, all the way up to Antigua, which is up here, it's upwind for over 1,000 miles. And there's another kind of compression zone here off the coast of Colombia where the winds are funneled on the side of the mountains, and you get extra steep seas. It can be a really nasty place to be. So it's possible to maybe cross over and kind of then work your way up the Caribbean islands in this area, or people used to come along the coast of Venezuela, but that's not been recommended for a while now for safety reasons. The other option is to go north here. There's a couple of interesting islands along the way, and then up maybe to the Mexican coast again, but certainly to Cuba, and then along the north coast of Cuba, and then from there probably up to Florida or straight across to Bermuda. After that, there's lots of options, but essentially we'll be crossing the North Atlantic, potentially straight from Bermuda across the Azores, then to the UK, or maybe going a bit further north up the eastern seaboard of the US, I would love to sail Tally-Ho in New England and Maine, and also the east coast of Canada would be amazing. I don't know if we'll have time, but that could be an option, and then cross over from there probably directly to the UK. If we had more time, we might even think about going up to Greenland or Iceland on the way. I think that might be pushing it, but you never know. It might still be a possibility. In any case, whichever direction we go, we're planning to cross the North Atlantic in 2026 and arrive that summer back in the UK. Of course, the Fastnet isn't until 2027, so why do I keep saying there's such a rush to get there and then it's not a sure thing? Well, getting through the tropics is our current rush and our current challenge, but in general, sailing to a schedule is a bit of a fool's errand, and it's the quickest and easiest way to get yourself in trouble by saying I'm going to have to be here on this exact date, because you end up taking risks, taking chances with the weather and so on. So I've built in an extra year on our journey to get back in time for the Fastnet race. So in theory we'll get back to the UK summer 2026, and that'll give us about a year to prepare for the race, do some much needed work on the boat after such a long passage, and also part of the preparation will be taking part in qualifying races, which you have to do in order to actually enter the Fastnet at all. Now, it's still very possible that because of something out of our control, because of weather, because of political situations, because of problems with the boat, that we miss our crossing window to cross the North Atlantic next summer. And of course, if that happens, then luckily I still have some time in the bag, but our plans will have to change, and we'll have to figure out the qualifying races in a different way, but potentially then we could still go the next year, 2027, arrive back in the UK, and then immediately start the Fastnet race. I'm hoping that doesn't happen, because that would be hectic. And actually, if I'm being honest, there is another reason why I want to get back to the UK sooner rather than later. It's been a very long time since I've spent any meaningful time there with my family, and you know, some of my folks are getting older and have health issues and that kind of thing. So it's important to me to try and get back there pretty soon if I can. So that's another factor in all of this planning.
Oh no! Oh no! Help me! Wait.
Lucky that swell is only 6 inches. Pretty amazing how well these guys fit in their shells that they find, and how they can completely block off the entrance with their claws, so they're completely protected now. This guy's probably kind of terrified right now. Washing up.
I'm watching.
It's so fun. I love washing up.
What's the method?
Oh, it's very complex.
Yeah, I want to know.
Well, we try not to use too much water because we have to make it, and we try not to get all the bits down the drain because it goes to our grey tank and the pump, and we have to clean the grey tank, and it's really gross. Oh, and this is the spatula that Joe threw overboard a little while ago. Just wanted to point out that we did retrieve it because this spatula was given to us by Marat's mum, and it's been in their family for a long time, and it's the best spatula I've ever used.
So excited to be done with washing up so that we can go on deck where it's cool and breezy and you can hear the crickets and the shooting stars. I'm waiting for my coffee to brew. What are you doing, Leo?
I'm working on the job list. There's a lot of things on here. Alright, ready?
Yeah. Oh gosh.
So we had to wait for a few days to get a good weather window, but it wasn't too bad waiting in that beautiful bay. And finally we got a nice couple of days with no wind in the Gulf of Tehuantepec, and as you can see it's completely flat calm here, basically tiniest little bit of breeze. So we're going to head straight across the Gulf of Tehuantepec, hope it doesn't unexpectedly start to blow while we're out here, and hopefully arrive in Chiapas, close to the border, in a couple of nights. I have to say I'm getting really bored of motoring all the time on this bit of coastline. It is true there's really no wind here unless there's way too much wind, but it is getting pretty boring having the engine on all the time, so can't wait to get into wind again. I think that probably won't happen really until we get through the Panama Canal, but then we'll have plenty of wind. And I don't know if you can see behind me, but there's just sea turtles everywhere out here. We've been passing these big sea turtles every couple of minutes, it feels like. I think I've seen about 20 in the last hour. Really amazing to see them all out here, but I have to try not to hit any. Okay, well we're still underway, we're still crossing the Gulf of Tehuantepec, but we turned the engine off for a little bit. We just got a tiny whisper of wind and we're just sailing very slowly to give ourselves a break from the engine. But I thought I'd take this opportunity to talk through some of the challenges we're facing on board, some of the things that we're kind of constantly working on, some things which have broken, some things which actually have never worked, because I know it sort of might seem from the last couple of videos like we're just having a lovely holiday down here all the time, and we are having a really nice time. I definitely cannot complain, feel very lucky here. But the truth is we are so busy maintaining the boat and fixing stuff constantly that we've had no time to spare at all. And one of the reasons I want to explain that is that I was really hoping to be making some more kind of technical, educational videos by now about sailing, about gaff rig, about navigation and so on, but just haven't had the time to do that. So the videos I've been making have just been kind of the bare minimum in a way, just documenting our journey, and that has been really nice as well and people have appreciated it. But I know some people have been missing that technical content a little bit, and I am really hoping to actually start making those videos in the next few weeks and months. But for now I want to show you what is really going on Tally Ho and what we're dealing with day to day. Okay, let's check out the engine room first because there's a few big things in there. Alright, it's a little bit noisy in here because we're running the water maker right now, and that is one of the issues that we're dealing with here, and it's taken up quite a bit of my time trying to solve it. The salinity of the water that we're producing has been increasing and increasing, and I can't figure out why. So it's up to about 500 parts per million, which is still safe to drink, but it's sort of on the edge of getting too salty. So if it keeps going up it's going to be a problem. Now it might be a problem in the membrane, it might be a problem in the Clark pump, but I don't think it is, because it is running symmetrically how it should do. Could be something to do with the filters. Anyway, I've spent a lot of time researching, but I haven't got to the bottom of it yet. The other issue, and this is something that a lot of people have actually asked about, is the hybrid regeneration. Now I always knew that this was a bit of an experiment in some ways, and that it might not work, but the truth is we haven't actually managed to get the hybrid regeneration working at all so far. Now, I haven't tried that many times. It's actually a little bit awkward to try it. Basically, we have to be going really fast for it to work at all, in theory even. And when we've got that much wind, it's usually not the sort of situation where we want to be messing around too much with things we don't have to. Because it requires stopping the boat in the water basically, and then putting the prop in reverse, and then moving the boat while the prop's in reverse basically. So it's a little bit of an operation. So I've only tried it a few times and I haven't managed to actually generate any electricity. I'm not sure if it's just because the prop is too small, because we did have to downsize to a smaller prop because of the gearbox ratio issue. In that case, we might be able to get it working when we move back up to a bigger prop eventually. Or maybe there's some error in the system, it's not working quite as it should, or maybe it just will never be able to work with this style of prop on this style of boat. I don't know, but it is a shame, because it'd be really nice to be able to regenerate electricity while we're sailing around. So we've just been relying on the diesel generator side of things to generate, and that is fine, but obviously it'd be nice to use less diesel. I have been thinking about installing some solar panels, but it's hard to find a good place for them on this boat, and they'd have to be massive to generate the sort of electricity we need to run the hybrid or the electric oven and that kind of thing. Other than that, most things are running pretty smoothly in here, although I do need to disassemble and clean out the heat exchanger soon. We actually did it already once, but it's getting due to be checked again, and unfortunately with this engine installation, one of the things which isn't quite perfect is you have to take quite a lot of other stuff apart to be able to get the inside parts of the heat exchanger out. So I'd have to take apart the whole exhaust system and the turbocharger. So actually I did get this nice heat exhaust jacket made in Ensenada, so that's going to make it easier because it's not going to get fiberglass everywhere, but it's still a big job, and that's coming up on the to-do list. Also, just the other day I noticed we were getting some little leaks in the access hatches of our diesel tanks, just a few little drips. So I just tightened them up a tiny bit. I know you don't want to over tighten those. Hopefully that's not a big issue, but just another thing I've noticed. Oh, and there is something else. The hybrid clutch, the shaft clutch that disengages the shaft when we're using this as a generator, we've been having some issues with that. Some of the bolts have been vibrating loose, coming apart. It did happen once in quite a critical parking situation. That was the first time it happened, so we weren't expecting it at all, and nearly damaged another boat. So that's kind of sorted right now, but I need to take it apart to put some extra rubber washers in there because it's vibrating, and I need to take the whole prop shaft assembly apart to get the new hybrid drive belt around the shaft. So our original hybrid drive belt snapped a few weeks ago, and because I had the spare already led around the shaft and in place, I was able to get it on pretty easily without taking the drive shaft apart. But now we've used up that spare. I've got more spares, but I've got to take apart the shaft assembly to put the next spare on, so that one is ready next time it happens. Whew. Let's get out of here, it's really hot. Okay, up here in the forepeak, there's nothing too crazy critical going wrong. The capstan is performing pretty well, so that's great. I do need to take it apart and do a full service on it. I decided to try and do that in 6 months after getting it all sorted out in Sydney. It's been longer than that already. We're getting some light corrosion around here. It just needs to be addressed, so a full service means taking this all apart. It's quite a big job. So that's coming up. The chain locker is working well, but when we get to the end of the chain, when we've almost got the anchor all the way in, the chain piles up quite high, and it doesn't then have gravity to pull it through the spurling pipe from deck, so it kind of piles up and it can jam. So I've got some ideas about how to stop that from happening. It just involves installing some well-placed blocks in here. If that doesn't work, might have to somehow make the chain lock a little bit bigger. At the moment we manage, but it's not ideal. One of those things that would be really nice to dial in. Deck switches for the capstan have been causing problems, but I think I've solved it now. I took them all apart, and they were actually just getting seawater in the switch. It's not a very good design, so I've modified them a little bit, took some unnecessary parts out, filled it with grease. I've done that twice now, so it's clearly something that needs to be done every couple of months. For a while the capstan was kind of going haywire. The switches were activating even when we weren't standing on them, which obviously is really, really dangerous. So when that was happening, we were operating this by hand until I had it fixed, and now it's operating well, but I need to make sure to service those switches every couple of months before that can happen. We do have a couple of deck leaks in this area as well. There's a little leak here that comes through from the front of the hatch, and there's a more substantial leak in the skylight hatch here. When we get a wave on the foredeck, it comes through onto this bunk. So that definitely needs to be addressed before we get into the Atlantic, where there's there'll be more rough weather, and it is going to involve a bit of work taking that apart and modifying it. That's all I can think of right now. Let's move aft just a little bit. The head. Oh, the head. Where do I start? We've been having some minor issues with the head. I've been trying to use some kind of digester stuff to break down the solids in the hoses, but we have been finding it's been getting harder to pump, and sometimes it's not been pumping at all. I'm not quite sure if there's a priming issue or what is going on, but it is under investigation, and we're using it with caution currently. Okay, I'm really just pointing out the jobs that kind of spring to mind and that I noticed. The actual job list is much longer than this, but these are kind of the obvious ones. So things are going pretty well in the galley, except just having to modify a lot of the locker doors just because things are swelling and contracting. So you can see some of them are pretty stiff. And actually the freezer door completely broke the other day. The whole freezer drawer came all the way out and it broke its runners, and I spent about 3 hours in the middle of the night jury rigging it back into place and kind of modifying the runners. Anyway, I think it's working now, but the catch is completely broken, so we're using just a little turn dog thing at the bottom and a bit of cardboard. So it's obviously not permanent. I'm ideally going to cover this with some wood and have a bigger dog on it, a catch, and just a proper handle. Another thing in the saloon is the wood burner deck plate is leaking, and that's probably because it was getting so hot and so cold repeatedly over the winter, and so salt water when it's on deck does drip through here very slowly, but it lands on the iron wood burner, and of course that has been causing all this rust. Now, I haven't made this job a huge top priority because it's not critical and it won't be that difficult to clean this up and paint it again, but obviously it does need to be done at some point.
Is this stressing you out?
No, this is just how I always feel. All these jobs are like always just under the conscious surface. But that's fine. That's what it's about. It's what it takes to keep a boat going, and it keeps us busy, and it's all fun work. There's just a lot of it. I'm very grateful to be out here working on my own boat.
Yeah.
It's so much better than so many other options, but it's a lot of work, sure. Let's look over here. Okay, we're heading up on deck now. Ow. So there are lots of jobs that need doing out here, which I'm going to go through in a second, but the first one I want to talk about is slushing the standing rig. Now, you can see this black twine or service that's wrapped around our shrouds here and is wrapped around various other parts of the rig and used to kind of lash things together. Now, this is all coated and treated with a kind of tar oil mixture, and that needs to be reapplied frequently in order to keep it UV resistant and keep it soft. And it's actually getting pretty dry and pretty thirsty now. And so I actually started this job back in Acapulco, so we're going to go back there right now and look at what it takes to re-slush the rig. So today I'm going to be slushing the rig. Now the shrouds, or more accurately the service around the shrouds and various other sort of fibre parts of the rig are coated. The boat suit mix is turpentine, pine tar and linseed oil. So I'm going to mix these together and head up the rig. Okay, so that was probably about half a day's real work in Acapulco, although it took me a whole day because it was so hot and I had to keep taking breaks. But I got about half the rig slushed in that time, so I've still got the other half to do. Now, the other jobs on deck are mostly about chafe protection, because with this sort of rig, there's always things rubbing on each other, and over time that damages parts of the boat, parts of the rig. And in particular, this spruce that we use for all the spars is pretty susceptible to rot if the varnish finish gets damaged and water gets underneath it. So you have to be pretty careful preventing that damage. There's quite a bit of that damage happening on the gaff where it rubs up against the shrouds, so we've been re-varnishing that, and I'm going to be putting some wood strips on either side of the gaff in those positions. There's some other throat halyard chafe going on between the block and the mast that I need to put some leather there. There's some already, but it's just temporary. The other chafe protection, of course, that we need is the baggy wrinkles that the boys were working on. They didn't quite finish, but they did a great job, and we're going to make a few more of those, and they'll be wrapped around these shrouds, and that'll prevent the sail from chafing too much on the shrouds. That'll be particularly important after these shrouds have been re-slushed, because then they'll have fresh tar on them that will transfer to the sail. Okay, let's look up forward. Okay, there's actually not too much up here that needs work except for the capstan. Like I said before, it needs a full service. That means taking it all apart, making sure there's not too much seawater getting in there, not too much corrosion. The brake line, as you can see, is completely worn through our chafe guard, so that needs to be replaced. And actually the capstan drum itself needs a spot of paint in a few places, and just a general clean up, I think. I've got to remake the block that holds the chain peeler because that's been damaged. Did you take this preventer off?
Oopsies, I didn't put it back on.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll just keel haul you. It's okay, I just cleaned the bottom, it won't hurt that bad. Well, there's a couple of big things at this end of the boat that need attention. One is the autopilot. I mean, actually, this autopilot is working great. I've got a spare one of these units in the boat, so if it does go wrong, it can be replaced. However, this autopilot is very basic. It doesn't take into account the roll and the pitch of the boat, and it's also, you know, a system that could go wrong. So I've got a secondary autopilot that's a completely different system, and the idea was to have that as a backup, or maybe a primary, and these could be backup. But the secondary system just isn't working. I'm not sure what it is. It's the programming or something, but whenever I try and use it, it just gives us a kind of completely haywire course. So troubleshooting that, talking to the manufacturers, they're really helpful, but it's a bit of a weird use case with this trim tab. I'm amazed this cheap Simrad TP32, relatively cheap, is doing such a good job. And maybe I'll just get extra backups of that one, we'll see. The other big issue in this part of the boat is the blocks. Now the blocks are beautiful and work really well. However, I think because of the humidity and the heat down here, the wood has swollen up perhaps. In any case, whatever's happening, the sheaves aren't really turning in the blocks anymore. And so the main sheet isn't running through these blocks smoothly, so we can't really let out the main easily without hauling it out through the blocks by hand, which can be kind of awkward. It makes it a lot harder to get it in quickly as well. The same is true on the running backstay blocks and a few other ones, but it's mostly these ones that are affected. So I just need to take them apart and really see what's going on, and probably take a bit of material off the inside. All these winches need to be serviced. I did one a few weeks ago, and that was a bit of a test, and it was good to see it wasn't too bad inside, but it was definitely getting to the time when it should be done. So I would really like to do the other 5. These are all actually safety critical jobs. It's kind of just regular maintenance, but if you don't get ahead of it, if a pull inside one of these winches jams and snaps under load, that could mean a winch handle suddenly flying free and breaking somebody's arm, or hitting them in the head and giving them a concussion. All these little things, though they may not seem like that important on a day like today, they actually can make a big difference, can be big safety concerns when you're out in extreme situation and weather, and it's nighttime and everything's crazy, and then when this sheet isn't going smoothly through the blocks, it's more likely to, for example, get caught on the autopilot and rip that out of place, and then we've got a serious problem. So lots of little things like this. Let's go back down below. Okay, we're back down here in the chart table area, and there are a couple of important jobs down here as well. I've got a few little issues with my electronics that I need to sort out, but the more critical job is, I realized that our only chart plotter GPS display is this, which is run from a PC on an AC system, and that means if our AC power goes out, we haven't got a chart plotter. Now, originally the idea was that the backup or even the primary would be paper charts, but it turns out I just don't have time, unfortunately, to be doing traditional chart work, which is a real shame, but there we go. So I decided I need to have a backup 12-volt DC chart plotter system to help us navigate if this system goes down. And so I need to install something probably up in the companionway where it can be seen from the cockpit, but that does involve quite a bit of figuring out how it can integrate with all our other systems. So that's a big job. There's also a stray current corrosion job that I thought we'd figured out, and recently I've discovered maybe we haven't figured it out. It's not major by any means, and it's not critical, but I really want to spend some time getting really up to speed with stray current corrosion. It's a complex topic, and I want to really understand it well so I can do my own testing and also explain it in a video. Now, there are a lot more jobs than this. These are just the ones that have sprung to mind. the actual job list is much longer, and we've been ticking stuff off every day. Things are getting done, but again, I don't always film them. I do want to say though that having this many things go wrong on a sailboat is not unusual at all, especially when it's a boat that's just recently been launched and is so custom and has quite complex systems. Now obviously, in a way, maybe if I did this again, I wouldn't be putting so many systems on a boat. We'd see, but there are also advantages to that for me. I'm able to do my work and so on. But anyway, all the boats we meet down here, everyone is having issues all the time trying to find replacement parts. It's kind of just what sailing a boat is. It's fixing your boat in different places. So that's what we're doing, and I don't want to seem like we're complaining at all. I love what we're doing. It's awesome. It's a privilege to be able to do it. I'm so grateful. But I just want to kind of show you guys what the reality of it actually is. It's not all swanning around on beaches. There's a lot of nitty-gritty, head in the bilge, getting really sweaty, trying to figure stuff out. So hopefully you're going to be able to film more of that going forward. This main job list that we've been looking at today does not include all the regular maintenance or all of the chores. So there's lots of jobs like cleaning the grey water tank every week or two, washing the deck every morning, and a million other jobs which just come under kind of daily, weekly chores, and then all the scheduled maintenance or the engine maintenance and so on that has to be done on kind of monthly or quarterly basis. So there's a lot more than just the job list. The job list is just for the one-off jobs. Well, we got into Chiapas safely in the middle of the night, although it was a little bit scary in some areas when we had to go through the unlit channel right into the marina, but it all worked out great, and we only stayed there 2 nights, well, 1 night really and a half, and yesterday spent all day dealing with paperwork. I have to go to many different offices to get various clearances to leave Mexico, and I had to cancel the temporary import permit for the boat, get many forms stamped in triplicate, but I have to say everyone in Mexico that we've come across has been so helpful getting us through all this stuff, and the people here have just been amazing without fail and without exception. Can't say enough about Mexico and Mexican people. But we've left Chiapas and we're pretty much right now crossing the border into Guatemala, and we're not going to stop here. We're going to keep going. We might stop in Nicaragua, or we might just keep on going into Costa Rica so we can meet Patrick in time. So that's it for now. We've got a lot of hopefully really interesting videos coming up. I've still got to put out some really beautiful footage from the Sea of Cortez, and I'm really excited to do some more educational, technical videos. I really want to do a video on how we actually sail a rig like this, and I want to do a video about our man overboard procedure, and lots of other things. So for now, thanks a lot for watching, and a massive massive thank you to everyone who has donated or otherwise supported this project. It does make a huge difference. It means we're able to keep on sailing and maintaining this boat, and it means we're able to keep on making these videos. So I really, really appreciate it. I'll see you next time. Cheers.